All right, so Multispec Bio, we're a brand new startup, really focusing on delivering life-changing therapies with pinpoint precision. Uh, this is the Philippines. Um, After I finished my PhD, I was backpacking around the world around 6 months, and I found myself here in the Philippines. This area is called Banawe. It's where the locals grow rice and the rice paddies, and they have villages around there. And my tour guide, Gary, he's a social worker, and he was telling me about how he would have to hike to these villages to, do social work, deliver medicine, whatever he needed for the village. And it would take about 6 to 8 hours sometimes to hike from where he lived to some of these villages, you know, and it really got to me thinking about like, oh, how do we deliver medicines to these rural areas where you're not going to have the infrastructure. They don't have a lot of electricity. They don't have a lot of cold chain storage. The area itself doesn't really lend to just storing a bunch of medicines that you might need. So it might take days to be able to get to these people, especially if you think about advanced medicines. And so this really inspired me to think about how can we make medicine more equitable and more accessible to everyone around the world, especially the people that need it. Um, and when you look at it, really the problem is all in the infrastructure and why more developed countries are really easy to get drugs and some of these other countries aren't. You have your cost of manufacturing. You're going to make drugs in bulk, and so you're going to want to produce a lot of it. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And then storage and deployment is actually the biggest problem. You're thinking about, does your medicine, can it be delivered just in room temperature, or does it have to be in a fridge? Does it have to be in a freezer? And how are you going to get it out to these rural areas? Are you going to ship it? Are you going to have it delivered by foot? Are you going to drone drop it? Um, and the last part is this like multi-dose efficacy. So let's Vaccines are a good example. If you're talking about like your COVID vaccines, for most of us, we had to take 2 doses, right? Thinking about how you're going to get 2 doses out in a village like that. How are you going to, know who took the first dose, when did they took it? There's not really good medical tracking systems. So making drugs that also are really effective that you can only give once is also really important. And so we're manufacturing nanoparticle therapeutics at the point of care to solve a lot of these issues. And so what we're looking at is something deployable. So something that you just ship a powder, you add water, you add your DNA, and then within a couple hours, you'll be able to actually make all the proteins for your therapeutics, make all your nanoparticles, and purify it at the user. And so if you're able to do this, you can just ship one single thing, ideally room temperature, that you can just store in a village, and then when you need to, you can just reconstitute the drug. You don't have to worry about shipping. You don't have to worry about storage as much. The second one is customizable. So just add DNA. So instead of making a whole batch of drugs that we're just going to have to store and it might go bad, what if we just have everything that we need to make the drug? And then when we need to make a drug, we just change the one piece of it, which is the DNA, to make whatever vaccine, whatever protein. Um, and this is going to make one, manufacturing way simpler because you don't have to manufacture in bulk. Two, means that you don't have any waste. You don't have to make drugs that might never be used and then it goes bad. You can just have the precursor, let it sit there, and then when you need to make whatever drug you need to make, you just customize the DNA. Um, and the third part is the precise and effective. So we're really focused on using nanoparticles to enhance the efficacy, enhance the precision, where it gets in your body. And so we think that this third layer of therapeutics is really going to help make drugs more accessible and more effective. And so the first two parts are actually, there are other groups that are working on it, and that's something that we're building off of. And what we're really focused on is how to integrate our nanoparticle therapeutic side to these manufacturing processes to ensure that we have more effective therapies. And so a lot of this work is based on my PhD at Northwestern and some of my lab mates. we were working on. And so on the first um, part, we have the manufacturing process, which we've developed pretty rigorously. We were using it for delivering mRNA therapeutics to very specific cells as our application case. And then the second part is that we took the technology and then we actually developed a proof of concept Nipah virus nanoparticle vaccine. Um, so Nipah virus is a pretty deadly virus that is coming up in the developing world, and we don't have really good vaccines for it. And we found that using nanoparticles, we can actually make better vaccines than if it was just like an epitope vaccine. And so by putting the antigen onto our nanoparticles, it actually more looks like a virus. We call it like viral-like particles. Um, and it was able to induce better immune response in mice. And so this is kind of the framework of what the technology that we're building on, and we're really thinking about, all right, like how do we bring this to the next level? How do we keep working to actually get this outside of the lab and into these villages or these areas? And so the Shift grant is really going to allow us to explore the translational potential of our technology. So the three milestones that we're really looking at is first looking at like the yield and scale manufacturing studies. We were just doing this for mice, but we want to know, how cheap can we get this to make it a vaccine for like 50 doses, 100 doses? Can we optimize our processes right now to get that to the point where it's really, really affordable, where we can get, doses under 10 cents, 1 cent. And so we really want to do some of these cost benefit analysis, some of these cost of goods and service analysis, and really figure out the engineering. Then we got the purification, sterility, and quality control protocols. And lastly, thermal stable storage, really thinking about, can we store this in room temperature, ship this to across the country, across the world, and make these vaccines. And so the applications are just the one-shot vaccines, personalized gene therapy. We're also really interested in animal and livestock vaccines, thinking about how can we move this to animals if we can make it cheap enough. And this is our team. We all came from Northwestern, so it's me, my lab mate Mary, and then our academic advisor. Thanks, everyone.